You mentioned Jimmy Martin. For anybody that doesn't know, there's a scene in the Jimmy Martin documentary where he's giving a fiddler a little bit of a hard time, and that was Matt.
Yes, there is.
What are your memories of that?
I watched it like a few nights ago, and I hadn't seen it in like years. The documentary came out in 2001-ish, 2000, because I played with Jimmy in 2000. In fact, I told Uncle Josh, I was like, Jimmy asked if I would go out on the road with him and work his dates. And Uncle Josh was like, don't you do it. You're going to regret it. Don't you do it. So I didn't take his advice. I went ahead and took the job. I told Uncle Josh, it's like, well, I took the job with Jimmy. And he's like, well, you'll never fucking learn. He was pissed, man. He was just like, you dumbass. But I'm glad I did it. It's because Jimmy, like I was so drawn to these characters, and there were so many characters back then. So I was just attracted to him just because he's so weird, and so interesting and so awesome. He's a genius, straight up genius. And, where, as I said, John wasn't prescriptive about what you play. Jimmy was entirely prescriptive about what you play. And he knew exactly how it should go. And he was right. It's like he knew exactly how his music should sound. And he had a high bar. It was J.D. and Paul Williams. That was the sound. And to him, everything else, past that, everything else didn't ever come up to that. That was the gold standard that he was, I guess, kind of frustrated that he could never get back to a certain degree. But so I took the job with Jimmy, and we really got along. Like, we were friends. He wanted, he even said, well, why don't you come over here and move in with old Jimmy? You could stay here in this room over here. You could take care of the goats and mow the lawn, and then, come out and play my shows with me. And I was just like, wow, thank you. Never. It's like, I ain't gonna do that, but okay, I'll play your shows with you. But I really, he was such a character. I loved being around him, but he was so intense. It's just kind of like you're taking the ride, like putting your head under the lawnmower, it's just like you kind of knew where you're getting into. So when I was out on the road, there was a documentary crew, that made this documentary, The Life and Times of Jimmy Martin. It's on YouTube.
It's really worth watching.
It is. It's fantastic documentary. And so there's a scene, prior to the show where, Jimmy always opened up a Fire on the Mountain. And so he wanted to hear me play Fire on the Mountain. So I learned it off of a Jimmy Martin recording, and I, thought I learned it note for note. And I think I did, but I played it through a few times. He's like, yeah, that's it. But then, no. Then he started, no, hey, you're hesitating. And I was just like, and in my mind, I was just like, what does that mean? It's like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so, and obviously cameras are on me. I was like, okay, I'm hesitating. What? So I tried it again, and it's interesting. When I watched it the other day, I was playing it, and he was like into it. And then at the end of it, I showed, like I clocked it, and I never clocked this before. At the end of it, I showed some weakness because I like kind of asked the question, like, is it okay? Is it all right? It's like, and so it was like throwing chum in the water. And so it was at that point that he went in on it. It's just like, and I had never clocked it. It's just like, oh shit. He smelled my fear. And then he just went in on it. And so, he hammered on me, no, hell, no, and just kind of kept on with it, but that was actually, as much shit as I got for that, that's 25 years ago, people still come up to me, hey, you're hesitating,
Oh, God.
But like now it's like street cred, it's like, I've got a damn badge of, I got but
I'll say this. I remembered that scene from years ago when I first saw it, but when I watched it the other day, it didn't seem near as bad. Of course, I wasn't in your shoes. I was thinking, okay, is Jimmy giving him a hard time because the cameras are there, or is he being nice because the cameras are there?
No, I think it's the first one. Yeah. I mean, he was a showman, so it's like he wanted to be the show. I mean, obviously, he heard something.
I guess, but I can only imagine if you're there in the moment, in the line of fire, and there's cameras on, and a legend is giving you a hard time. I can only imagine how.
Oh man, dude, it's like I went watertight, man. It was rough. It was rough, man. Yeah, and then I went to go see it in the theater. I didn't see it on. They played it Saturday and Sunday. I couldn't make it to the Saturday one, but I went to the Sunday one in the afternoon. And George Gohl, I think that's how you say his last name. He was there. It was the Nashville Film Festival at the Green Hills Mall. And somebody asked a question at the Q&A at the end. It's like, well, who is that fiddle player? And then George is like, well, there he is back there. And I was just like, oh, shit. Sinking down into my chair, It's like, oh, God, yeah. But even like my buddy Ferg, Dave Ferguson, he's always called me Hesitating Matt Combs. And now it's since been shortened to Hezzy. So it's like Ferg and Dan Auerbach's crew and all that. It's like, my name's Hezzy. So, because of Hesitating Hezzy. So that's like, it's a badge of honor at this point, And
you played with Jimmy Martin. Nobody can say shit to you.
That's
kind of how I look at it,
Yeah, it's like I got the bruises to show it. And it's, one of the most infamous clips. Paul Kraft came up to me after that. Paul Kraft, was a famous songwriter, and he played banjo in Jimmy's band back in the day. And I saw him out somewhere, and he's like, you know what? That scene was what every Sunny Mountain boy went through. It was like it's like the essence of what it was to be in Jimmy's band, of Jimmy just,
Yeah.
I mean, well, along with those high standards, I mean, there's also, his obvious personal peccadillos that, and, when you combine that with drinking and, kind of an abusive nature, he could be an abusive guy, it's like he got off on doing that to people. Well, that same trip, he'd gone out after the show, he'd gone out in the campground. It was at Ralph Stanley's festival up there in McClure. And he'd gone out there and got him a little drink, and he was feeling pretty good. And I had gone with him to the campsite where he was hanging out, and then I kind of slipped off, just to go whatever, do my thing. And I came back around to kind of see what was going on, and he had gotten into it. And he's like, looked at me, he's like, hey, fiddle player, where'd you go? Called me fiddle player, but I was like, damn, dude, okay. Yeah. Hey, fiddle player, where'd you go? You think you're just going to go off and leave Jimmy Martin, going off and playing with other people, and it just, we got back in the bus. He's like, you run off. I'm thinking about I might fire you. And I'd gotten into it a little bit myself, and I said, well, you know what? I've been thinking about firing you. And he's like, you have? It's like, I think he kind of liked that. He's sort of, that's sort of like, yeah, he never slept. It's like he was, he just stayed up sitting in the front of the bus, and just ready to wear you out. It's like I bought him a Taco Bell one time. We were at a truck stop, and I was going to go get something to eat. And so I bought it. He's never had one. I was like, well, you want a taco? He's like, okay. So I bought him a taco, and he was cheap, tight as bark in a tree. And so we were sitting there at the Taco Bell. He's like, okay, now you're on the Grand Ole Opry with Bill Monroe. And he says, kick off the Blue Moon in Kentucky. What are you going to do? I went, no. It's just like, dude, I'm just trying to have a taco here. You're wearing me out, telling me I'm playing wrong on this imaginary gig with Bill Monroe that, it's like, but, what a character. No, I mean, that's the thing about all those cats. It's like there's nobody like that anymore. It's just like that whole era of these eccentrics and visionaries, and I mean, it's like they're just not there anymore, you know, and like people that are just unabashedly weird, you know, and not by some contrived nature. That's just the way they were wired up, you know. It's like, I just don't see it. I don't see it anymore, you know. But so I'm glad I got a little taste of it, you know, with all those old timers.